Hey everyone, we're currently standing right outside of the Hemsley building on New York City's Park Avenue. We're going to be walking New York City's wealthiest business district today and going from 42nd Street all the way up past 57th Street and Park Avenue. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to walk directly past 270 Park, which is the JP Morgan Chase office tower. Should be a relatively quiet day because it is a Friday. Usually Fridays in the summer, many of the workers tend to go home early, or they're making their way out east to the Hamptons or perhaps a little bit further upstate in Westchester County. You're also going to notice a ton of scaffolding all over the place. This is 245 Park Avenue. They're doing a major restoration here. It's going to be a completely new lobby for the building. Across the street you can see the brand new 270 Park. Come up on 47th Street. Now, a long time ago, I'd say pre-internet, prior to the internet, a lot of the major banks were downtown, particularly all along Wall Street and Water Street. But as the internet really built out, there wasn't an actual need for all these banks to be downtown on Wall Street. So many of them relocated to Midtown Manhattan, in and around the Times Square area, and right here on Park Avenue, particularly between 42nd Street north of Grand Central Terminal and 57th Street. So it's interesting when you think about Wall Street. Many tourists think that's kind of where all the financial activity happens. But a lot of the stock trading and settlement actually happens across the river in New Jersey. The New York Stock Exchange is really kind of just a TV station now. Inside the New York Stock Exchange is mainly for CNBC. There is some market making, but it's pretty much a shell of itself of what it used to be. You can see right outside of 270 Park, and even the other building just to the left is going to be the brand new JP Morgan Chase office tower as well. They're doing some major renovations. Now, yesterday the entire building was lit up with the Korean flag, and that is because I believe today was the first official day of trading for SK Hynix in America, which is the ADR. If you don't know what an ADR is, it stands for American Depository Receipt. Chances are, if you've ever traded any Chinese stocks or bought them on like a US exchange, you're actually not buying the literal stock or the common. You're buying the ADR. And the ADR essentially usually holds the funds in an offshore accounts, like in the Cayman. So you're not actually technically buying shares of the physical company. You're buying shares in some sort of a holding entity which in turn owns shares in that company. It's kind of like an interesting way to get around the legalese of it all. However, if you have like a brokerage like Interactive Brokers or something like that, you can buy the actual shares of SK Hynix and Samsung, but in which case you'll have to purchase in Korean won and do the currency conversion. You could also do that for Schwab, but it varies on, oftentimes it's quite expensive to do. So it's much easier just to buy the ADR or just buy an ETF that includes all of those different foreign stocks, like an ETF that tracks the Korean KOSPI, the KOSPI index. Anyway, you can see MetLife building, which is the former, and then you have the one and only One Vanderbilt just to the right of it. It's crazy how much construction is going on here on Park Avenue. This is now the corner of 49th Street. We're about to walk right in front of the Waldorf Astoria, which this hotel has been completely gut renovated. It took multiple years to do. It was really a very difficult renovation as well. It's a brand new Waldorf Astoria, but you also have residences in here. So you do have the option to purchase condo units in the building. Yeah, but the very top of the spire was lit up in a big Korean flag. It was kind of cool. The South Korean stock market, or the KOSPI index, has been one of the top performing in the world. Right up there with a lot of Israeli stocks, the Israel market. South Korea has really been carried by a lot of the memory boom. Here we are right outside of the Waldorf Astoria.
I know. I don't think that guy's just going to wait.
This is now the corner of 50th Street. Right up here on the corner of 50th and Madison, you have the Lotte Tower, or the Lotte New York Palace. Speaking of Korean, Lotte is a Korean conglomerate. You have the Lotte Tower in Seoul. But speaking of Samsung and SK Hynix, in the memory chip division of those companies, it's been reported that some of those employees can expect a bonus upwards of $400,000. And these are, not white-collar workers. These are, kind of blue-collar working in the memory division. So that's amazing. I mean, it just kind of gives you a perspective of just the sheer profitability caused by this AI boom. So that is fantastic. This is now the corner of 51st Street. Just to the right of us, you have Blackstone. Blackstone is one of the largest private equity firms in the world. Founded by Steven Schwartzman. Steven Schwartzman donated about $100 million to the New York Public Library, the flagship, Fifth Avenue, to restore it. Blackstone is in the news right now because a few years ago they acquired the sandwich shop. What's that sandwich shop called? Jersey Mike's. And now they are set to IPO the company. So oftentimes, well, that's really what private equity tries to do. They try to purchase a company that they feel that they can make some sort of improvements to, which will then increase the valuation of that company, and then they go ahead and sell it or bring it public. And that's kind of how they have their main liquidity event. But here they are right here, 345 Park. But I also want to direct your attention directly across the street as well, because this could potentially be the most exciting project in New York City history. What you're looking at right now, with all this scaffolding here, is 350 Park Avenue. This is potentially, I think the project will still go through, but this is going to be the New York City headquarters of Citadel and Citadel Securities. That was founded by Ken Griffin. It's going to sit right here on the corner of Park Avenue between 51st and 52nd Street. It's going to be in partnership with Vornado, and this comes at a time when there's a little bit of a feud between Ken Griffin and New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani after he made a TikTok video of the sorts, kind of pointing to Ken Griffin's pied-à-terre at 220 Central Park South, kind of calling for Ken Griffin to pay more in taxes and the like. I won't get into the politics of it all, I'm just kind of telling you the news about it. However, in my view, I think that Citadel will continue to go through with the construction project here. I think it's very unlikely that they would bail on their plans of establishing a New York City headquarters there. But it is going to sit right here. It's going to be absolutely massive. It's going to be even taller, if you can believe that, than 270 Park. Now think about what that's going to do as well for the views at 432 Park Avenue, because if you've ever been in any of these units at 432 Park facing southbound, 270 Park Avenue kind of kills the views of the Empire State Building, but you're going to get yet another monstrosity smack dab in the middle. Just imagine right here, you're going to have, I think it's 1,000, maybe 300 feet tall. I got to double check that, but it's going to be absolutely tremendous right here on the corner of Park. So we'll be documenting that as the years go on right here on the channel. But again, just remember, it's going to be in between 51st Street and 52nd Street and Park Avenue. Okay, that takes us to our next stop, which is my favorite office building on Park. This is the Seagram building. The reason why I like it so much is because it's built very far away from the street, which allows for these two really beautiful fountains here. The exact address is 375 Park. But just look at how far back from the street the Seagram building has been built. kind of maximizes the views, and you also get a really nice park. In the winter here, they have all of the Christmas trees. They empty the fountain out, and they add in Christmas trees, which is really nice. This is a restaurant here. And this is one of the side entrances. Now that we're walking all the way from the front of the building back to the street, you're really going to get a perspective of how it is if you were working here and walking out of the doors to the street. It's a very cool experience. You kind of get to see the city open up in a major way. You see 432 Park Avenue. You can also see the Four Seasons Hotel on New York City's Billionaires Row. And in a few years' time, you'll be able to have a direct look at 350 Park. All right, we'll get back on and we'll continue to head northbound, in which case we'll walk past the current headquarters for Citadel and Citadel Securities, which is in 425 Park Avenue, which is a really nice office building. It's a state-of-the-art, energy-efficient office tower. This is now the corner of 53rd Street. And looking back to the west side, you can see the spire of 53 West 53rd, which is the Jean Nouvel building. Which is a residential tower. Now, Ferrari is going to move their main showroom into the retail unit here at 425 Park. You can see it if I zoom in. And I think it's going to be beautiful. Very strategically and well placed, might I add. So you can see 425 Park and 432 Park in the same shot.
Right. Yo, Jerome! Everybody good?
Este año sí.
Quickly cross so you can see the current Ferrari showroom. Across from us is the Park Avenue Tower. Corner here, this is going to be a great view of 425 Park. passing 430 Park as we come up to the corner of 56th Street. Across the street, you'll be able to see 432 Park up close. This is the public space right next to the Phillips auction house. Here's the main entrance to 432. And you can see those massive 10-foot by 10-foot windows. Some of the days the auction house is actually open. You could go down and check out some of the art. I was looking, and I think the Diego Maradona soccer ball is on auction. I forget how much they're targeting it to go for, but I think over $20 million, which is a little crazy, but I'm sure there's a market for it. This is the corner of 57th Street. More scaffolding. once you cross north of 57th Street, Park Avenue starts to get mostly residential. It really starts to get residential as you cross 60th Street, headed northbound. It's a lot of residential co-op apartments. Now approaching the corner of 59th Street. You'll start to notice the transition now. Okay, this is the corner of 60th.
Ő mondta, hogy mondtam neki, hogy ledobjuk, és hogy valamelyik szomszédos megkérdezett, hogy megmondta a garázsban.
So right across the street, you'll be able to see 520 Park. This building is very, very popular. You can see the limestone facade. This was done by Robert A.M. Stern. Developers being the Zeckendorf developers. But there's going to be a major building being built directly next to it, which might impact some of the values. of the units here. Is going to be a big problem because it's going to obstruct a ton of the views overlooking Central Park for the residents at 520 Park Avenue. Now, Orlando Bravo of Toma Bravo is currently suing the developer. Apparently, it wasn't disclosed to him that there's going to be a building built right next door. But, in my opinion, that's not really the job of the developer to disclose that. That's the job of the buyer's agent to do the due diligence for the buyer. And before you buy any apartment in New York City, you can hire a title company, and if they're nice, if you know some good people, they'll pull reports from all of the surrounding buildings. So for example, if you were going to buy at 520 Park Avenue, you should have pulled every single thing you possibly could for all of these buildings to see if they're on buildable lots, and to check just how high you're able to build, assuming that any of these buildings were to come down. Because let's say if you were to buy on the 20th floor here, but let's say the building in this lot was only allowed to be built, let's say, 300 feet in the air, well then you might be safe, right? But you gotta do that diligence before you buy it. So I understand why Orlando Bravo is pissed off about that, but if you're going to spend, I don't know, over $40 million on an apartment, especially in New York City, you got to kind of do the diligence. You got to check to see what the buildable height is of the lots surrounding. If there's been any recent or notable air right sales. Anyway. Now, is it a little shady that the Zeckendorf brothers didn't disclose that to buyers? I mean, yeah, but, I mean, if you built a building and then you know that Extel, because look, all the developers know each other in this city, it's obvious. This is the Metropolitan Club here, by the way. JP Morgan was the first president of this club. But at the end of the day, they're not going to, tell everybody that, hey, Extel owns this plot of land, and they're probably going to build a monstrosity right next to the building. That's going to be really difficult for them, to sell the apartments. So I kind of understand on both sides, but it's up to you on your side to do the due diligence. All right, now we are here on the corner of 5th Avenue. looking over Grand Army Plaza and the brand new Grand Army Plaza South. Of course, the Plaza Hotel, all of Billionaires Row, looks spectacular. But the Metropolitan Club really looks striking, particularly when it's really, really sunny out, because it's an entire marble facade. This was designed by by McKim, Mead and White in Italian Renaissance style. McKim, Mead and White also did the original Penn Station. We're now going to walk right past the Pierre Hotel. Which is also covered in scaffolding. The Sherry Netherland is covered in scaffolding. But you got to understand, these buildings are very old, sometimes 100 years old plus. So in order to maintain them, you got to do the mandatory facade work, and that takes a lot of time. And of course, we're right across the street from Central Park. This is the side entrance to the Pierre. Now we're back to Madison. Wow, this is cool. So this is the original Statue of Liberty. This statue, cast in bronze from the original plaster sculpture, was enlarged 16 times by the artist to create the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor. That's sick. I actually never knew that that was the original. I walked by it a million times, but I never knew that was the original one. Learn something new every day. Now we're back to Park Avenue. It's honestly a nice stroll today. It's not too hot. I just love the buildings that are all along Park Avenue. They just have so much character to them compared to a lot of the others of Midtown. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like these residential style buildings better? Or do you like the super tall glass in the sky along 57th Street, Billionaires Row? If you guys enjoyed today's walking tour of Park Avenue, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and as always, we'll see you in the next one, and thank you so much for watching.